All right, Pavel. I see you. I see you on the screen over there. Yeah. So that means we're live. Good evening, guys. My name is Erik. What is today? It's the 25th of February, and we're gonna do another webinar tonight, which we're gonna talk about is emotional abuse in relationships. Now, you may have seen the whole talk about narcissistic abuse 2 weeks ago. This is a little bit similar. I'm just going to fine tune it a bit more into certain characteristics that the narcissist, that the antisocial personality, and that kind of personality has. So we're going to have a look at that tonight. Now, I'm just waiting for my computer to be turned around and have a bit of a technical insight to see what is going on in my space. But in the meantime, guys, I welcome you who are here on Zoom tonight. Then, of course, we're also live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and we're probably also live on Instagram. Now, we're going to deal with emotional abuse. It's quite a heavy topic, so I'm very, very curious where you are from. If you're participating here tonight, where are you from, and why did you choose to attend this specific webinar? If you're a very, very fast typer, and you're, swift on the keyboard, do us a favor, do everybody a favor, let everybody know where you're from and why you're here. If you're more on the slow side, maybe you might just suffice by just putting in where you're from. Now, we have a lot of followers, like on Meetup, we get like almost 2,500 followers, and this is people from all over the world. We are based ourselves in Dublin, in Ireland. And so obviously we have a lot of followers in Ireland itself, but then we also have a lot of followers in the UK, across all of Europe, and then actually it just fans out to, places as far as Australia. So what we do with this beta group is really trying to enlighten people on subjects of the mind. How does the mind works? What is actually limiting your potential, what holds you back, what causes you stress, but also everything that you need to know about relationships, how to improve them, how to know if you can actually trust somebody, how to know if how to handle ups and downs in life, how to be more efficient, how to be more organized in life, how to get more things done, and so on. Yeah. All right, so now my screen has been turned around. Now I can finally see what is actually happening here in front of me. Let me see. All right, good. So we got Deborah Wilson. That's nice to see you again, Deborah. You were here before, right? All right, and you said I've possibly been subjected to it. Okay, I got you. Now, thank you very much for that answer. So my name, just to introduce myself briefly, my name is Erik. You can tell my voice is not completely as you know me. I just had a tooth extracted. It worked heavily on my throat. It's not exactly a pleasant feeling. I'll get over it, don't worry. But that basically, tells you why my voice is not as it's used to be. I'm Dutch myself. I'm from Holland. I've been traveling for a long time, more than 20 years. Lived in the Caribbean for a big part, Venezuela, Mexico, at some point ended up in Scandinavia, then Belgium, back to Holland, now in Ireland since the last 3 years. Always traveling, and the great thing about that is that you learn cultures, you learn people, you learn ethnics, you learn, all kinds of interesting cultural things and how people behave, how they think, and I find that very, very fascinating. First of all, tonight we're gonna just pop in a, I have an issue here. Pavel, maybe you can handle that for me because I think the battery just went dead. First of all, we're gonna handle a couple of definitions, because what we're going to talk about tonight is the antisocial personality. Right, this obviously comes below We're talking about the antisocial personality. That's the topic of the night. That's what we're going to discuss. Now, anti, that actually means against. So let's say you are in favor of something, you want to go in a certain direction because that is your ambition, or that is what you stand for, or you have a certain goal that goes in that direction, and that simply fits your personality. Because that is what you are, that's what you want to be, that's what you want to do. Now, anti means against or opposite. So you might find somebody who opposes that. And obviously, instantly, it makes sense. She says, I want to learn how to play the piano, and I want to take piano lessons. You go in a certain direction, and somebody else says, that's not going to happen. Why not? Well, because you have no talent. And basically, that is an opposite vector, right? Now, that will be anti, against or opposed, right? Social, that basically has to do with the happiness, the health, and the well-being of people. So if you would be a social individual, you would care about a person's happiness. You would care about a person's health. You would care about another person's well-being. Yeah, so it's said that we are, quote unquote, social animals, people in general, right? So, and that means we care about other people's happiness, other people's health, well-being. Now, what we're going to see tonight is that not everybody is actually social. Some people are actually anti-social, which is they're against some people being happy, they're against people being healthy, they're against the well-being in general of other people. Antisocial meaning opposite of social. They would actually go against. Now I could just read a quote here. An antisocial personality is a person who is against any individual, any activity, or any group that works to help other people improve. So let's do a little sketch here. Sorry, by the way, normally I welcome everybody on Zoom, so that we actually have a bit of a chat going on back and forth. Right now, laptop needed to be restarted, so I can't really see who's online, unfortunately. Anyway, doesn't matter. We'll just keep going. I hope you like the content. That's what it's all about, right? That's what we're doing it for. So let's say we have a social individual. And that social individual is, of course, very keen to help. He's very keen to help, basically to improve other people's conditions. So let's say that is a graph, and that graph actually represents the condition. Now, let's say you are in a certain condition. Let's say you're not too happy, and somebody actually wants to help you to be more happy. That will be a social activity. Well, let's say you're in a condition of being dependent on drugs, and somebody says, you know what, I'm going to help you to get off drugs. Well, let's say you're in a condition where your literacy is not great, and somebody says, you know what, we offer classes to improve your literacy. In other words, you can improve these conditions that will make a person more happy, more healthy, and that would actually improve the well-being of these individuals, right? So we have a social person here. That social person is very much willing to help to improve the conditions of others. Now, of course, many of us are simply engaged in work. We do work, and if you have a look at the industry or at the service that you're working in, then you would see that, okay, you're helping other individuals. Maybe you're helping them big time, improve their conditions quite a bit, or maybe you're just helping them to some extent, but it would still improve their conditions. You're selling them a washing machine. Well, they had I don't know, some kind of crappy results that they got before, and now with a new washing machine, it's better. So the person will be more happy. Right, that's what the social person is all about. Now you get the antisocial. And that antisocial is absolutely not happy that other people are being helped or that other people's conditions actually improve. This is somebody who would work against it. He would try to basically make everything impossible for that social person to render him ineffective, right? He's actually targeting that individual to render him ineffective. That is the whole idea. Good. Pavel, a quick question. Are you able to do slides? Da. Very good. All right. So I got Pavel here with me, guys. All right. We're gonna pull up the first slide, and I can actually tell you what that one is. There are certain characteristics. If you can get that one. Let's see if we can get it on the screen tonight. And if not, then I'll just read it for you. Yeah. By the way, in the meantime, let me just show you where I'm getting the data from. So I'm getting the data from this book, which is called A New Slant on Life by Mr. L. Ron Hubbard. This is the one of the most read authors of all time. He did a lot of research in the field of the mind and in the field of life. Sold millions and millions and millions of copies of books. At the end of the webinar, we're actually going to put a link there for you so you can actually see for yourself. But the data that I'm presenting to you tonight comes from the book. The book is all about improving relationships, knowing who you can trust, being more efficient, making optimum choices in life, and so on. All right, I think we succeeded with the slide. And so basically what it says here is there are certain characteristics. Characteristics are good or bad qualities that somebody's recognized by. that cause about 20% of the population to be very much against any activity or a group that works to help people, make them better, happier, or more able. In other words, we're just sketched that whole thing here. And so the first slide, the first quote here, basically mentions that the group of antisocial people is as much as 20%. In other words, 80% is social. Now, it's very interesting what you see, for example, right now. You probably have seen it in the news. There are peace talks. Let me get some tea in the meantime. Just excuse me. There are peace talks ongoing about this whole situation in the Ukraine. And what you see now is that you have people who are in favor of peace. And now that these peace talks have actually started, now you start to see people who are not in favor of peace and who feel that the war should actually continue. And these people come with reasons like peace is more dangerous than war, for example, right? Now, and if you look at conditions, then it's very, very simple to reason why you want to have peace. Because during peace, conditions for people in a country can actually improve. Whereas where you have war, you will have deteriorating conditions until nothing is left. The antisocial personality is totally in favor for ruining anything that is helpful. Right? And you might actually be connected to such a person. That's why we're calling this tonight emotional abuse. So these people have some antisocial tendencies, right? And one of the antisocial tendencies, for example, is that this antisocial personality is very good at finding fault. He will actually find fault with you. He'll make you wrong. He'll try to point out and find anything that he can attack you on. And it's very interesting, once again, if you watch political debates, you will see that the antisocial personality is just finding fault, is not really entering the debate with arguments, but is actually finding fault with the other person that he's quote unquote debating. Now, if you look at, for example, criminal acts like stealing, robbery, harming other people, raping, murder, all these kind of things, they're actually done by antisocial individuals. They're not done by social individuals. The problem, for example, with insane people like in a mental asylum, is very often that they actually have discovered that they were connected, intimately connected with the antisocial person who basically drove them insane. We're going to actually have a look at some more qualities or more attributes, manifestations of the antisocial personality. But that person literally drives everybody else in his vicinity insane. So people who are in an insane asylum and who get a moment of brightness when they're being handled, they'll find out they were driven insane because they were connected to the antisocial personality. Now, if we take the whole scope of antisocials, only 2.5% is really dangerous. Only 2.5% is truly dangerous. Here we find guys like Stalin, like Hitler, like Mussolini, the true criminals. And these people can sometimes be influential and kind of like make friends or have associates. And these associates then are so much under the influence of the true criminal that eventually that group can make up like as much as 20%. Good. Are we getting anywhere with the laptop, Pavel, or is it dead for today? All right. I think, okay, good. All right, guys, so that means we're not going to do any questions. I hope you follow things for now. So, Pavel, maybe you can actually help me with the next slide. Slide number 2, when a person's life has become rough and failing. In the meantime, let me wipe out the board. And it's already there. Okay, that's fine. Good. So here's the next quote. So when a person's life has become rough and he is failing, a careful review will find one or more such anti-social personalities at work. All right. So here the emphasis is on life has become rough and the person is failing, not succeeding, right? When you're failing, you're not succeeding. Life has become rough. So let's take, for example, a restaurant. Let's take a restaurant, and we have a managing director. Let's say we got a director there. Let's say we got a bunch of staff. And then we have a financial guy. I hope you can see that on the screen. Yeah, the director, the financial guy, a bunch of staff. This is the restaurant. Now, that restaurant is actually getting loads of people into the restaurant. They have a big clientele. And supposedly we're making a lot of money. There's lots of income. However, every month we are short to pay the bills. So something is really wrong here. Now, at the same time, this financial director, he is finding fault with the staff. And he's spreading a lot of bad news. And unfortunately, our director himself is not very knowledgeable in the field of finances. So, with his business, he is not succeeding because he's unable to pay the bills. On the other hand, a lot of clients are coming in. So it doesn't make sense. Life is becoming rough for everybody here because of the bad news that's going on, the finding faults with everybody, and actually people actually get upset with one another and they start to point fingers. Turns out that a person who is trained in how to find the antisocial personality eventually finds out that our financial guy is embezzling money and is putting the money into his own pockets. So the financial guy is the antisocial individual causing a lot of trouble for others. Or, for example, let's say we take a family, and it's a happy family, they like each other. And they all have a lot of affinity for each other, they get along very well, they share common realities. Communication is very good in that little group until Uncle Joe comes along. Because Uncle Joe became homeless, and Uncle Joe was adopted in the family. And Uncle Joe started to spread a lot of bad news. Finding fault with everybody. Until everybody really got upset with one another. And before you know it, they didn't like each other anymore. And that was because Uncle Joe was an antisocial individual who actually entered the group. Good. So basically, what does that tell you? Yeah, when life has become rough and failing, and people have trouble to succeed, they're doing ups and downs, for example. They're preoccupied, they're worried, they're anxious all the time. Most of the time that indicates there's an antisocial individual in that group. So basically what we need to know how to exactly spot these guys and girls. We need to know the exact manifestations. What are the attributes of these people? How do they speak? How do they behave? Now, based on history, we all knew a certain, let's say, quote unquote, gentleman from Austria who went to Germany and then started a war in Europe. And everybody said, well, you know, it must be that everybody who's wearing this type of mustache, there must be something fishy about that individual. But we're not dealing with physical attributes. We're actually dealing with mental attributes. Yeah, the person is finding fault for a reason. He's spreading bad news for a reason. These are mental attributes. So it's important to recognize the antisocial individual really for what he is, so that when you are a social individual and you mean well and you want to help, that you are better informed, you're more protected, and that you can actually carefully choose your relationships and know that you're not going to be harmed, not mentally, not physically. You're not going to have any mental scars from these things. Good. So I want to give you a couple of these characteristics. Now, once again, you will all find them in the book. I just took a couple of those. There's more in the book, together with the whole handling How do you spot these people? How do you handle them? All right, so we're going to go to the third slide. The antisocial personality has the following characteristics. Let's see if we can get that one up. Yes, you have it, Pavel. Okay, that's good. I see Pavel happy. All right, Pavel is my new assistant. You're probably used to Dita. Dita used to be here in the past. If you've been here before, right, I mentioned Dita a couple of times. And anyway, Dita has gotten a better job in our organization. She's right now the head of marketing. And Pavel is actually assisting me these evenings right now with slides and any questions that you may have. He's there. He's basically the host tonight. So what we have here is the antisocial personality has the following characteristics. He speaks only in very broad generalities. He speaks only in very broad generalities, which are basically statements that give no details. So that person will come up with, they say, everybody thinks, everybody knows, and similar statements which are in continual use, particularly when spreading rumors. So, for example, let's take the restaurant again. And he would ask you, why even go to that restaurant? Everybody hates this restaurant. Right? Everybody. When you would ask, who is everybody? Normally it turns out that he basically dreamt it up himself. Right? Or it might turn out that he heard it from another antisocial friend. You could get another statement. Let's say your partner is antisocial, and he might actually throw something like that, some kind of a generality at you, which is like, honey, gosh, I forgot my keys. Have you seen my keys by any chance? Have you seen them? I forgot my keys. Oh, that's so typical of you. You always forget your things, right? So here we got another broad generality, always combined with something negative, because it's survival to know where your keys are, right? So it's a good thing to have your keys. If you don't have your keys, you would consider that bad because it would cause you trouble. But anyway, so that person would then just inflate that, emphasize it, make it way larger, and say, well, you always forget your things, or you always lose your things, right? Just make it way bigger than it really is, and then in a negative way. So I would normally ask you already, I would have asked you a bunch of questions already, like, who has observed this? I hope that it strikes a bit of similarity, right? We're going to go to the next slide. Person deals mainly in bad news. That's very good. I'm going to just bear with me, please, for a moment. So what does this person do? So we got you there, and we got Mr. or Mrs. Antisocial. What would come out of Mr. or Mrs. Antisocial's mouth? Well, number one, bad news. Have you heard that they're going to lay off more people there? You're looking for a job, and you're actively searching for a job, And he'll come and he'll tell you, have you seen the figures? The unemployment is at an all-time high. Seems like nobody's hiring anybody anymore. He'll just give you some bad news. Some critical or hostile remarks. Something like, well, you're not really trained enough, really, to get that kind of a job. Right now, they're only hiring people who have 20 years of experience, which you don't have. Those kind of things. Now, you will get invalidation. And invalidation would actually means to render invalid, which is to say to make nothing out of you, make nothing out of your ideas, make nothing out of your goals, make nothing out of your ambitions, which is to make zero out of you and whatever you stand for. And this person deals in suppression. Suppression basically means to squash, to suppress, to sit on, to make smaller. In other words, reduce you, to reduce your opinion of yourself, to reduce your ideas, to reduce your ambitions. That is what Mr. Antisocial does. Well, let's say you say, well, you know, I want to learn how to play the piano. You're coming home, you're home and you're practicing on your keyboard, right? Mr. Antisocial comes in. He says, you're doing it all wrong. That will be like a critical remark, right? So, well, what are you doing it for? Pianos are stupid anyway. Being hostile, right? Or a person said, well, you have no chance to learn it. You don't have no talent. You have no talent. You never get far anyway. That's just invalidation and suppression. See how that works? All right, so I will just put my laptop up again. Amazing. All right, guys, I can actually finally see the chats again. All right, so now that we have the chat open and now that we can see what's going on, I'm going to do a quick look here. And so we see that we have on Zoom, we got A. Phillips, we got Deborah Wilson, we got Dimitri, we got Eli. Hello, Eli. We've been chatting on Meetup. Nice to see you here. Then we got Eliana, we got Ivy, we got Jack. Good to see you again, Jack. It's been a while. Actually, quite recent, I think. Now we got Tina. All right, guys. So I'm very happy to have you here. I'm very happy that I can see you right now participating. And Dimitri says, hey, all right, hello there. We got Eli. Hello. All right, guys. I hope you're enjoying this, even though, like I said, my voice is absolutely, and my energy is not there. But I hope you're enjoying the content of tonight. Now, let me ask you quickly. So what we have covered so far, have you observed some of these things in your life? That's what I'm very, very curious to know. Have you actually observed these things, like, you know, spreading bad news, finding fault, critical remarks, hostile remarks, suppression in general, yeah, talking in broad generalities, right? Yeah, all right, let me see. I think I got a few remarks in the meantime. Alright, good. Tina, dankjewel. Fantastisch. Hallo en beterschap. Are you Dutch, Tina? Because I'm Dutch, right? Yeah, awesome. All right, then we got Eliana here from Dublin. Tina is from Holland, she says. Okay. All right, Tina, I'm quite curious now. What city do you live? Where you come from? All right, Jag. All right. So yes, I've experienced both in my personal life and in work as well. All right, Jag. Good. Now let's go to the next slide then. Let me see. Yeah, it's quite an interesting one. It's a catchy one. There's no good news. There's no good news. If you have that one, there's number 5. Chook. All right. There we go. All right. Now, isn't that a piece of information? Huh? This one. There's no good news or compliment passed along by such a person. Tells you right away, if you're dealing with social people, they'll like to give you compliments, to make you compliments, right? They'll like to tell you, hey, you look good. They like to tell you, hey, it's a great job that you just did, right? Oh, well done for your accomplishments. An antisocial person will never, never, ever put it into your mind, will never, ever pass on any good news or any compliment to you. All right, there she is from Schagen, North Holland. Okay, good. Thank you for the valuable content. Yeah. So here's one statement alone. Here's one attribute, one of these very valuable manifestations. Say, hey, does this person make compliments, pass on good news, or doesn't he? Right? Now, of course, you need to know more, but it's one of these things that, you know, it's kind of like obvious, you know that social people, they like to pass on good news, to say, hey, you know, I just went to this restaurant. Man, you should go there. It's fantastic, right? The fish on the menu or the beef on the menu or whatever on the menu is just awesome. Okay, good. So, for example, if you would, let's say, like what I just said, you know, if a young girl was trying to play the piano, she would get all kinds of nasty remarks, and basically, a social person would actually give her compliments. Now, we're going to go to slide number 6. And that is one of the saddest things. I think it's dead. Okay, so do you have that, by the way? Slide number 6?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So I apologize, guys. The laptop stopped working again. Means I cannot follow you in the chat. But anyway, one of the saddest things about an antisocial personality is that he or she does not improve or get well as a result of treatment that he receives. In other words, like, we might actually seek counseling, right? Or we might want to talk over certain problems that we have with our friends, and we might actually find that is helpful, that it helps us, and you know, we get epiphanies and we get realizations, and then with that we can change. The sad thing about the antisocial personality is that he cannot change. This person cannot change. That means he also cannot improve. If you live with such a person, you have tried in vain again and again and again to get some kind of an improvement going, to get some kind of a more agreement going. Even if you would send that person to treatment, or if you would make agreements, nothing is really going to fly. If you have this person as an employee, and let's say he's been coming late for so many days in a row, and you ask him to come to your office, and you say, Mr. Jack, here's an alarm clock. I want you to take it home and set the alarm, and I want you to be in time tomorrow. You can probably tell he's not going to make it, and he's not going to do what you're asking for, right? So there is no improvement as a result of treatment or any kind of handling that you would do with the person. We're going to go to the next slide, number 7. You have it? Right, good. So surrounding such a personality, if you are close to an anti-social personality, you are in his circles, so to speak. When we find frightened or ill family members or friends who were not actually made to become insane are failing, you can basically deduct from all this that if you're constantly bombarded with bad news, with attacks on your beingness, in other words, who you are, what you stand for, if your realities, the things that you consider real, if these realities are constantly under attack by critical and hostile remarks, by nullifying things, making nothing out of you, making nothing out of your ambitions, your ideas, you got something that you like, this person is constantly trying to keep you small. You want to go out and you can't go out. You want to make friends, but he doesn't like the idea that you make friends. You want to reach out for something and he's cutting your reach, right? So eventually you're stopped in such bad ways again and again and again, that what will happen is that you are constantly in a state of fear, and basically you're failing, of course, and your life becomes one big roller coaster. And of course, this may very well get you ill as well. Now, as you can imagine, let's say you are trying to be educated. You're trying to go to, let me just wipe out a little bit of space here. Let's say you want to be educated. And you want to go to school, you want to learn things, right? And the whole idea is that you improve your condition. In this case, for example, you're improving your literacy, you're learning the tools of the trade, right? But if you're constantly connected to Mr. Antisocial, who was actually against any betterment, then of course he will attack any betterment that you are trying to make. In other words, when you're being treated, for example, in hospital, when you're educated, and when you're connected to the antisocial personality, then you feel that you cannot really retain the progress that you're making. Also, when let's say when you get ill and you have to go to a hospital, when you're still connected to that person, your recovery would take way longer than what it should be taking. All right, I think we're going to do the last 2 slides here. Good. We have the antisocial personality. It's an interesting one here. Selecting the wrong target, number 8. Yeah, it's on screen right now. So the antisocial personality continually selects the wrong target for his anger. Now, once again, we started with politics. It's an interesting thing if you look in that arena to actually see what kind of people, what kind of groups are being targeted. In the UK, right now, free speech is being targeted as we speak. All right? So you cannot voice your opinion. That is kind of like these laws are like in the making. Well, who's behind that? Well, you guessed it right now. A very, very, well, a big example of this, of connecting the wrong target, obviously was Hitler, who said, well, the Jews are the problem. That is Germany's biggest problem. It was absolutely a wrong target, right? Now, on a smaller scale, he might target you because he just got back from work and there was something there that he couldn't handle and it spun him in and now he's lashing out at you. So he's simply selecting the wrong target. Might be that the radio with the neighbors is just a bit too loud and he doesn't like it and he's going to yell at you, right? Or whatever like that. All right, so now we're going to go to 2 more slides and then we're done. And we're done for tonight. The suppressive person. We spoke about suppression, which is to squash, to sit on, to make less, to reduce. And here is it's another word for the antisocial personality. It's a person who suppresses other people in his vicinity. A suppressive person will goof up or vilify any effort to help anybody, and particularly knife with violence, anything calculated to make human beings more powerful or more intelligent. Right? In other words, this person cannot stand the idea of help. He cannot stand the idea of betterment. He cannot stand the idea of any condition that would improve in a human being's life. And he will attack it. And that is a certain form of insanity. Now, the last mistake, the last slide of tonight, the anatomy. And that's what it says here, the anatomy of mistakes. In the presence of suppression, this guy connected to a suppressive, an antisocial. In the presence of suppression, one makes mistakes. People making mistakes or doing stupid things is evidence that a suppressive person exists in that vicinity. Why is that? This person is under so much pressure. He's under so much pressure. He's so much under stress. And it's taking so much of his or her attention that he is not 100% there. That's why he's actually making mistakes. All right, guys. So since I don't have the laptop in front of me, I would have loved to ask you a whole bunch of questions. Maybe, Pavel, was there specific things that you, let me, guys, give me a second. I'm just going to walk over. Yeah, okay, good. Okay, Jack. Right, okay, good. Yes, Jack, yeah, like you're walking on eggshells. Absolutely, 100%. Okay, guys, so I have a brief question for you. I hope you liked the content of tonight. Like I said, it's you can all find about it in the book A Newsnet on Live. We're gonna share a poll with you quickly. There's a few questions in there. It's gonna pop up in the chat, the poll. Maybe you can do us a favor and quickly fill out that poll. And we are very, very interested in having your answers to improve what we're doing, and also to get your feedback on the value of what we do in our webinars. And that's the book that we are presenting to you tonight. At the end of the poll, you will actually find a link for that. Good. So we covered 5-6 characteristics of the antisocial personality. There's 12 of them in the book. It goes a bit more in depth than what we've done tonight. There's it's 2 ways actually how you can actually remedy an abusive relationship. What you can see on the screen right now, what you will also see in the book is how to make optimum decisions in life. And it sounds a bit like a mystery. You can imagine that, this has to do with your goals, with your work, with relationships, how to make the right decision every time. It's a very, very, very interesting chapter on that. Now, there's a whole chapter in the book dedicated to what are the 3 building blocks, the 3 senior factors that need to be there to create healthy relationships. This could be pertaining to family ties, to social ties, business ties. Any healthy relationship to flourish and to prosper depends on 3 building blocks, 3 factors. They're described in this book. They're absolutely mind-blowing. Then, as this book has a lot to do with relationships in general, such as, for example, marriage, such as family, such as business relationships, social ties, and all these things, you do want to know how to find the people you can really trust, right? Now, there's some other things here that are more pertaining to yourself, how to actually find your self-respect, and how to basically reach up to your full potential. So that also talks about, what are the qualities of the person who succeeds. I'm not sure, maybe, so Pavel actually has access to your chat. Maybe you can give him a quick okay or a yes if you're done with the poll. That would be great. Yeah, all right. So, is there anybody who has? So, I'm just relying on Pavel right now. Anybody here who has a specific question for me or a specific question with regards to the webinar? Well, actually, Eli, the poll is just up right now. By the time we're going to close, the poll is also going to disappear. So if you can do the poll right now, would be great. I would appreciate it. We would appreciate it. It's very short. We'll just be there for another minute. I can zip my mouth and just let you do the poll. Anybody else has a question? Yeah, let me walk over. Right. Okay. So how do you manage this in life? Yeah. It's very, very simple. Actually, it's very simple, but it all depends on knowledge. Yeah. If you are a car owner, just like me, then you probably always get very, very frustrated the moment that you have repairs. And if you would talk to a mechanic, the mechanic is way less frustrated when his car breaks down than that we are. Because we know it's going to cost a lot. We have to put in a lot of hours of work in order to come up with the money and get the car fixed. So what does that tell you? Well, the mechanic, he's got the knowledge. He's got the knowledge, meaning he has an edge, right? He can fix this because he knows. And that also applies to life. If you have knowledge of life, then you will not run and trip over a stone and hurt yourself and bleed and end up in a hospital again and again and again and again and again. This is metaphorically speaking, right? So some people, they think they've gained a lot of wisdom from life because they were exposed to so many life situations. But then they're struggling in life. They're failing, not succeeding. But they're convinced they have a lot of knowledge. Well, all they ever learned was basically how it shouldn't be done. And they really didn't learn to improve their conditions. Now, if you want to improve conditions, this you can only do when you start with knowledge. In other words, you need to have knowledge. You need to have it so down cold that it becomes part of you, that you can spot it and you can use it and you can work with it. So you will not fall into the same trap again, because the whole thing is that knowledge will free you from traps. Lack of knowledge will entrap you. It will get you into life's traps. So to get out of the traps, you need to start with knowledge. Once you have the knowledge, you can now start applying and you can start to untrap you. All right? So my best recommendation, Jack, you guessed it, get the book, right? So I think, all right, okay, guys. So, all right. So there's no more questions. Excuse me for walking over, but okay, that was all for tonight, guys. We did a nice job. We ended in an hour and 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, there's another webinar again, which is all about the mind explained. Tomorrow night, we're going to talk about the mind, a specific subject thereof, a specific topic. Of course, you're all welcome to come back again. For now, thank you so much for your patience, for being here, for a webinar that was technically not 100% perfect, but I absolutely enjoyed having you. I enjoyed presenting this to you, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening. All right, so bye for now, guys. Ciao.